So the Stoeger Cougar has a kind of interesting story behind it. So the Stoeger company is a Turkish subsidiary of the Beretta company and ultimately ended up taking over production of the Cougar series. So the original Beretta Cougars, the 8000 series, the Beretta 8000 Cougars, were actually supposed to be a follow-up to the original Beretta M92s. And a lot of similarities followed along with this new model series. The 8000s were a hammerless, but you could also get them with the hammer. And they share a lot of the same features as the original M92, such as being a double single action with the ambidextrous safety / decocker on there. The Cougar series was originally designated for the new and more powerful 40 Smith & Wesson. Well, this didn't really work out very well for Beretta. They weren't very popular. So they were only in production in the year of 1994, and then ultimately the Turkish subsidiary, Stoeger, ended up taking over production. And they produced the Stoeger Cougar 8000 series. These were produced in 9mm, 357 SIG, 45 ACP, and in 40 Smith & Wesson. Now mine is a 40 Smith & Wesson, and it's designated the 8040F, which makes a lot of sense. 8000 and the 40 Smith & Wesson 8040, and these come with standard 11 round magazines, but they also accept 10 round magazines, so they're kind of interchangeable. The fun thing about the 40 Smith & Wesson, you can also interchange the same magazines with 357 SIG, so that works out pretty nice. If you have, I guess you have a need for two of these, you can interchange the magazines if you have a 357 SIG version of this. So it's a neat little pistol, and I've been carrying this thing for a very long time. When I was working private security, this was my primary sidearm. And yeah, it worked out pretty good. I mean, she's accurate, as you'll see in the video, and the recoil is very manageable, so it's really not that much of a thumper, but it's definitely more powerful than a 9mm. Now the Stoeger Cougar is kind of an interesting gun. It is a little bit of a more inexpensive gun, but it's very well made. This thing is about as heavy as a brick, I'll tell you that right now. So when I used to carry this thing regularly, I knew it. It is limited in capacity. It only goes between 10 and 11 round magazines, but they pack plenty of punch with those 40 Smith & Wessons, let me tell you. Now, like I mentioned before, the 8000 series carried over from the original M92s with the ambidextrous safety / decocker. Alright, flip it up, and it's not loaded obviously for the demo, but you can flip it from both sides. So with that decocker activated, trigger doesn't do nothing. It's got a full trigger disconnect. With that decocker up, it'll actuate the double action. And just like any other double single action, after you fire that first shot, it'll set the hammer back, and then you'll be back in single action mode. Not too shabby. Now, to say that this thing's a workhorse is an understatement. Every bit of this is steel. That's why it weighs so darn much. The only thing that is not steel is the grips, and these are like a rubber, plastic, polymer kind of, but I mean they're pretty comfortable for what they are. I mean, they're just regular flat screw-in grips. I'm sure you could get better ones like some Hogues or something, but these are the standard ones that come from Stoeger, obviously with the symbol on there, and they work out pretty good. Now the sights are very basic. They're just fixed adjustable rear and front sight, so if you're not shooting straight with it, you can always drift it, and then you'll get this thing back in shooting order. Now, one thing I don't like about the Stoeger is the trigger. It's got a stupid amount of creep on there. Now, obviously, not loaded, no magazine, so let me show this to you. Alright, so on the double action, watch this. There's that much already. You can see it before you even get any kind of pressure, right? Now watch. Yeah, so that took about 12,000 years, but that's using the double action, but super creepy right there. Now, if you're doing it in the single action, it's not so bad, but it's still, look at that, still pretty creepy. I wouldn't call it crisp by any means. Look how far that's going. But, so there's that. Now, a thing that I do like is when you're on slide lock, the slide release right there, it's nice and fat, so it's super easy. Bam. You can just press it and it goes. Like, super easy. There are some negative aspects to the pistol, but all in all, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. Now, when I was talking about magazines, they do come with 10 and 11 round magazines, and they're pretty handy, although comparatively, so if you look like a newer Glock or something there, you're looking at like 15, 19 rounds. This is pretty low capacity, but these were produced 30 years ago, so give it a little bit of leeway, won't you?